Yeah, boy. Sunday night here at WESU-FM. WESU Middletown, WESUFM.org. It's Sir John and Johnny Ganache. It's the original Pint of Comics. It's not that.
It's about time.
Yeah. I haven't done this in about 2 months. The board looked weird. I was afraid of buttons, but you know what? Everything worked out.
It's like riding a bicycle.
Yeah. How you doing?
Oh, I'm fine.
Good.
Saw you last night.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's radio banter. It's radio banter. I know. 3 nights in a row. 5 podcasts.
Yeah.
We recorded 5 episodes of our podcasts in a non-air-conditioned room over the last 2 nights. And my Lord, our sweat was sweating, I think.
I think I lost quite a bit of water weight.
There was a little bit going on there. But, John, who do we have on the other end of the phone line? Our special guest on the radio tonight.
Let's hope everything works, because I haven't done this with a partner in a while. But we have Cesar Feliciano, the fine artist of the many books that we read from Comics Tribe and other publishers, such as Red 10.
The Red 10, and now we've got Chango The Broken Veil, which is currently being kickstarted.
Yeah.
Kickstarted. Yeah.
Cesar, how you doing tonight?
Good, thanks. How are you guys doing?
How you doing, man?
Beautiful.
That's fantastic. Good hearing John's voice again. It's been a while.
Yeah, I've been MIA for a little bit, but it's always good talking to you, Cesar.
Yeah, man.
We miss you. I miss you. I go to cons now and I don't see you, and I get a little Cesar lonely because you're so omnipresent at cons around here.
True,
and now those stinking Floridians get to deal with you.
Yeah.
How
well, I had to make a change, I guess, right?
Yeah. You like it down there, though? Was it something that you had planned on for a long time, or?
Yeah, it was one of those things, Connecticut being what it is and all that stuff like that. I just wanted to, change of pace. I was getting a little bit tired of the winters, that sort of thing, and the inconsistent weather patterns up there in Connecticut. But I miss all my friends, though, I'll tell you that much.
Well, that's why you have the con circuit, so you can meet them all again.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. We'll have to get you guys down here, like Orlando Con or Heroes Con. I haven't been doing that many cons this year because, I've got a lot of projects that I'm trying to get done. But, watch out 2020. It's going to be a barrage of Caesar out on the con circuit again, so we can get the El Guapo mythology going again.
El Guapo. So right now, let's get right to it. What is the project that you're working on currently that you've got going with the Kickstarter? What's it all about? Who are you working with? What do we got going on?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for asking me to talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's called Chango The Broken Veil. It's a double-sized comic co-created by myself and writer Ben Goldsmith of Seance Room fame. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Ben.
Yes.
So this is a story about demons we carry with us and a boy that can see them. So it's about Ruben. He's a 6-year-old boy that has been plagued with the ability to see demons since the age of 6. And now, as a teenager, he's looking to get rid of this thing once and for all. So he takes the opportunity to use a family vacation out to California in order to do something about this. But, as with all things, he's thinking it's the curse, but is it something more? I don't know. We'll see. You got to pick up the book.
Yeah, that's a nice little line right there to get people into it. Would you know? You say demons right off the bat. So I think the first thing people are going to think is this a horror book? Is this a psychological thriller? Is it a gory book?
It is. Okay, so here's the thing. So it is a horror book, but I'll be honest with you, John. It's not like what we traditionally would call like a horror book in the sense of the gory, Fangoria type stuff. What it is horror in the vein of, just imagine The Sixth Sense mixed with Pan's Labyrinth and a touch of Troll Hunters by Guillermo del Toro.
Okay. So it's I kind of see what you're saying there. Kind of almost like a fantasy idea to it as well.
It is, and actually, exactly. That's great you pick up on it because I actually call it a horror fantasy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, was this something that you guys co-created the idea behind in terms of together, or was it Ben's idea, your idea? How did this all work out?
All right. So 2 years ago, I met Ben at a bacon fest. I already knew Ben.
Wait. Hold on. You didn't meet him at a Comic-Con. You met him at a bacon fest.
Bacon Fest.
And
So let me tell you what Bacon Fest is.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah,
Bacon
thank you.
Fest is an event that is held once a year. This is the third year concurrently. And what it is, it's held at this place in, what the heck is the name of the town? Worcester area around or something like that. I forget exactly what it is, but I'm sure it'll come to me in a moment. But anyway, needless to say, their whole menu is bacon and pork infused. So they have things such as bacon tequila, which I have had, and I've got to tell you, wow. That's all I'm going to say about it. It is delicious.
I can't imagine that being good.
I'm gonna believe him because I believe Cesar. But when you say bacon tequila, I'm thinking of the burp factor afterwards, and how terrifying that must be.
It's a bacon infused tequila that has a little sweetness to it because of the agave that you make the tequila from.
Right.
Yeah. So I met him there, and so we get to talking and stuff like that, and you know his comics are all horror based kind of stuff that he does with the Source Point Press and stuff, and so you know we were talking about these postcards that he does, where he does these like horror stories, and in these horror stories he does them on the back of vintage postcards. So you tell him like your biggest fear, and like he'll write a little story right on the back of the postcard for you. So my thing is rats. Me and rats I'm not good with rats. Okay, I have a big thing with that. And so you know he writes a little story, and I'm reading. I'm like, that was kind of neat. I like the way he put that together. You know, and he had just the right amount of creep factor. And so I say, hey, listen, why don't you give me your number, and I want to call you about something. And so I give him a call a couple of days later, and I say, listen, I got this story that I want to tell. It's kind of based on true facts, something that happened to me as a kid. And he's like, really? Yeah. So I kind of divulged a little bit, went into it, and say, you know, and I want to make a story on this where the main character is this kid, and this relationship between him and his mom, and the you know, because imagine being 6 years old and you can see demonic entities, okay, and you're trying not to freak your mom out, okay, and you're keeping this to yourself. So you know, time goes by, it just wears on this kid, and the relationship between the two is fractured. You know, and then this is coming on the heels of his father suddenly passing away from an illness. And so, you know, he's dealing with that, and then he's dealing with this demonic entities that he can see. The relationship with his mom has kind of gone soft because he doesn't want to, you know, concern her and get her worried. And so there's all these things that are playing on the mental and emotional being of that relationship.
Right.
So there's a lot of laughter and mirth in this comic.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, yeah, it's a very happy-go-lucky one.
Well, there is. I mean, you can. One of the things that Ben did, and you know, he kind of took what I went with and he ran with it. He did a great job. Is that there's no doubt when you're reading the book that the mom loves the son and will do anything for him. Just like our own moms, okay? They love us. They would do anything for us, okay, to a fault even. I know my own mom was that way, okay? I could do no wrong, even though, you know, I kind of screwed up part of it also. And so, you know, and Ruben clearly loves his mom because he doesn't want her to be concerned with him or worry about the fact that, you know, well, is my kid nuts now while she's dealing with the loss of her husband. So there's definitely a love there, and it does come out in certain parts throughout the story.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
So there's a hope factor going on in this horror
There
film.
definitely is. So
Yeah.
so in one of the catchlines that the taglines I was using before, that this is a story of love, loss, redemption, and demons.
All right. And are you guys putting this out under your El Guapo imprint, or is this going under something else?
So it's definitely going under El Guapo imprint, you know, right now. So you'll see that on the cover.
Cool.
And then, you know, we're looking to get this story out right now. And then, you know, once we have the project funded and out there, you know, we're looking at that point, you know, bring it to a publisher that would be interested in publishing it. So, we obviously have some connections with Source Point Press. Alterna Comics is another place where we might be able to go with this, as well as, I know some people, Bliss on Tap Comics and stuff like that.
They're awesome.
And even Comics Tribe. I mean, I'm not even, forgetting about Comics Tribe, but, I want to get this out and get it done. Then we'll see what happens from there.
Now, is this a one-shot story, or is this a series of 4 or 5 issues? What are you aiming at?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So the comic is actually 4 parts. So what we did is, instead of putting it out as individual floppies, we put the story out. We're putting it out in 2 acts. So Chango The Broken Veil, Act 1, is the first 2 parts.
Okay.
So it's a 56-page comic, and we're going to put that out, and then we'll immediately begin work on the second half, and then we'll put it out. So 2 parts, 4 issues, 4 chapters, boom, done, and we're good to go from there.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, it's good. It's good that you have it kind of broken up that way. Especially, you get the first 2 out, people dig it, and then they're waiting on that second 2. And I'm assuming you guys have everything all plotted out and ready to go. You just got to actually produce it.
Oh yeah. I mean, everything's written out. All the scripts are done. Everything, all that's good to go. It's just a matter of getting this done, getting it out, and then it gets set immediately to the second part. One of the things that Ben and I joke around is we say that this is the only comic graphic novel that has an intermission for a pee-pee break.
There you go. John could use that. John likes his pee-pee breaks.
I had plenty last night. Sorry.
So, Cesar, we've known you for a long time. I met you probably 10 years ago through shows and became very familiar with you. And I know we're concentrating on Chango, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that you were the artist on a fantastic series through Comics Tribe called The Red 10. Which it was killer, killer concept and a killer book.
Yeah, it was an exceptional concept, and I gotta say this, because when I discovered it prior to the solicitation of the first issue, I looked at it and I said, this is a company I've never heard of, and willing to go ahead and say we're going to do 10 issues of this story. That was really ambitious to me, and that's why I supported it from day one. I was looking forward to reading this whole thing, and that's how I discovered your art.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of daunting, when you get started on it, and it had some stumbles and stuff along the way, as these sort of things do, when you're not full-time publishing, full-time, working on it. You're trying to bang out this thing in your spare moments. And, to actually get to the halfway point and then seeing that you had another 5 issues to go was kind of like, am I ever going to get this thing done, And, but, you persevere and you go through it. And then when you get to the end of it and you realize that, wow, that was quite a ride,
Yeah.
And throughout that whole trip, when you're working on it, I met just some awesome people. I met John. I'm meeting you right now, and I've met so many other creators, people that are just regular con attendees that they're my friends now, and this sort of thing. And so, Red 10 has really been a big, part of who I am right now. It's actually how I got my El Guapo name on the circuit. So it's really cool. It's awesome, and I'm just really thankful to even be involved in such a project like that.
And just so the listeners know, it is a completed project, and it is able to be purchased at any given point.
Yeah, and we recommend it wholly.
Yeah.
It's an awesome story. Again, without giving away too much, it is a superheroic tale, but combined with the 10 Little Indians type of idea. And the other thing that you did, now I understand that you necessarily didn't work on it past that, but you were part of the creative team of that, and you were the first person to draw and I guess kind of co-create the character of Oxymoron which is a big thing for Comics Tribe. And in all honesty, and I don't just say this, it's one of the coolest indie, like, kind of villainous characters I've read in many, many years.
Yeah, no, it was. He's such a fun character, you know, because he's very reminiscent of the Joker, you know, but he's got this weird, like, Deadpool thing to him as well, which I heard a lot of people describe it that way, and I'm like, you know, actually, they're actually pretty spot on. So, you know, when people ask me about it, that's how I describe it. But I agree. He's a very cool character. He actually spun off into his own miniseries that was done by John Lees and Alex Cormack, and that thing was amazing. You know, and then it had its own anthology, which was kind of cool. So when we did the Oxymoron anthology, we approached friends of ours in the industry, and we asked them, hey, what is the craziest Joker story that you ever wanted to write or draw, but you know that it would never get past the people at DC Comics? And immediately they came up with some stuff. So we have, like, some crazy, you know, stories on there. And if you know anything about the Oxymoron is a supervillain that's obsessed with contradiction. So, you know, the way that he goes about and sees things in the world sometimes makes him a hero. Sometimes it makes him a villain, and then sometimes it makes him just an outright psychopath.
Yeah, he's a bad dude. He's a scary dude. He's it's akin to the Joker in the sense. And I loved, you know, I loved the Red 10. I loved the Oxymoron anthology book you guys did. As a matter of fact, it's pretty funny. Last week, Lou and I were up at Plastic City Comic Con in Fitchburg, Mass, and I was going through a table with trades, and I came across a Red 10 trade and the Oxymoron anthology. Nice. And I thought that was awesome. That, you know, mixed in with all these, you know, Thanos books and blah 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 blah. You know, there's Caesar stuff, and there's some other stuff that these guys that we've seen, you know, kind of growing. It's awesome.
Well, I mean, I push it all the time, right? There is a lot more out there to read than just your Marvel and DC books. There's a lot of really good comic books and stories of every different area of interest. So, I mean, if you want sports comics, they're out there.
Yeah.
Not very many of them, but they're out there.
Yeah, and you know, down here, I've met some creators while I'm down here, and I'm realizing that wrestling comics are a huge deal.
Really,
dude? Yes.
I think I've seen some, but
like
they love wrestling comics, man.
Okay,
I believe it because I do know that something I've learned just from being a Twitter person, you know, in terms of being on Twitter, is that it seems like something I never really realized before the last couple of years is that many adult comic book fans are also extreme wrestling fans.
Yeah.
You know, they're big time into the wrestling. So
somehow we always get under wrestling on this show. I don't know why that happens.
Yeah.
But there was a big thing on NPR yesterday about the WWE and where it's going into the future since what's his name is stepping back a bit from
Vince McMahon.
Yeah. He's bringing new people in.
Taking over?
No, he's bringing new people in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And if it's on NPR, it's like, what?
Yeah, really. If NPR is talking about wrestling, what's next? What's next?
Lou's all excited.
So how did you, Cesar? What's your origin story in terms of like comic books? Were you a kid that fell in love with comics? Were you a little bit older? What was the deal there?
Yeah, so when I was growing up, my father kind of like left us when I was 7 years old. So, it was tough for my mom. She's trying to raise 4 kids, as a single mom who barely spoke English, and things were tough. Okay, I gotta admit that, But the reality is that one of the things that helped me to get through such a difficult childhood was there was this guy when I used to live in the projects in in Hartford on Charter Oak, and I would see this guy, outside. And he's kind of like a big kid for his age. I think I was maybe like around 11 or so. And here's this kid. He was probably about 5'8", 5'10" at 11 years old. Just pretty big. And he used to jump around. He'd like be jumping around, and I would be looking at him outside the window like, the heck is that boy doing, And so one day I just ventured out there and just kind of watched him. And how like when you're creeping up on somebody as a kid, you're kind of like a little nervous and anxious. You don't want someone to say something to you. So I finally got close enough to just ask him, hey, what are you doing? Why are you jumping around like that and saying the things that you're saying? He goes, oh man, because I'm pretending to be the Hulk. And I'm like, the Hulk? And he goes, yeah, hold on. So he goes and runs in the house. And he comes out maybe 5 minutes later. He's got a stack of comics. And we sat down there. We must have sat down there, for, gosh, it had to be a couple hours as we just looked at these comics. And I just remember saying to myself, wow, I really like this. And it was like the world, the imagination, and everything like that. And I really fell in love with it. And so it became a part of my life. A part of what I enjoyed, and a real sense of escapism for the reality that I lived in, And so one thing led to another, and, ultimately I ended up wanting to actually try to draw what I saw and stuff like that. And, I was always pretty artistic and creative. I was in the conservatory. I was a singer, a violinist.
Wow.
So I was always pretty creative. But once I got the art drawing bug, the comics bug, it was like that was all I could think about, and it drove my music teacher absolutely nuts. 'Cause she was teaching me that, and she was teaching me saxophone, and she wanted me to focus on these things. But I had other concerns.
Were you trying to teach yourself the Spider-Man theme song on violin?
Exactly. Well, years go by and everything. I joined the military, and I start painting there. One of the things about the military is when they find out that you can draw even mildly okay, they're gonna put you to work. So I was doing the platoon flags. I was doing like little things like that, throughout the whole time I was in boot camp and when I was in the Corps and stuff. And then I got out of the Corps, 87, and a couple years later, I hooked up with this guy, Jim, and, same thing. I discovered that he liked comics, and he actually liked to draw comics, so we just get together once in a while and just draw and stuff like that, and try to teach each other how to draw comics and stuff. And then I met C.J. Bunn. You remember C.J. Bunn?
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah. And then I met C.J. Bunn, and he said, hey, man, and I'm actually kind of saying it like he would, hey, man, I really dig what you're doing there, man. I'm doing this comic, this publishing company that I got going called One Shot Press. Would you be interested in doing some art for me? And I was like, yeah, of course. I was, gosh, I must have been maybe about 24, 25 at the time. And so I did like 3 issues of artwork for him.
In what series? Do you remember?
It was the Captain's Jolting Tales.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have
that
to show,
that anthology that I did.
Yeah, I have a few of those issues.
Yeah,
I'll show you later.
So I did. Yeah. Yeah, so it was really cool, man. CJ's a character, man. I'll give that guy. He's a character. He's a hustler, that's for sure.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. And then from there, I hooked up with these guys that was starting, and this is all like, so with CJ, it was like, we're talking about 1991 or so.
Yeah.
Okay, 91, 92, with One Shot Press. And then, kind of things went a little bit south there. And so I ended up hooking up with these guys over at Dark Moon Productions in Manchester. and they had a lot of money to spend, and they were putting together some stuff, and they managed to get Tom Snagosky on board to write a story. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tom Snagosky. He wrote Swords of Sharpay with Mark Mansell.
Oh,
and
He's
he
gone
did
on a lot of things since then. So yeah.
Oh yeah. He's a book author now.
Yeah.
He's done The Fallen and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
He's had his stuff made into TV series and all that.
Yeah, he's definitely the hometown guy that made big. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the hometown guy that made big. Yeah. And so he wrote a story called The Innovators, which I penciled in ink, and did that for One Shot. For Darkroom Productions, and I also was like an inker on Rare Breed and The Thespian by Zoe Rochelle.
Some of these are ringing a bell for me, yeah. So I
is that ringing a bell?
Yeah, that was the early '90s were a crazy time. So there were all.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people putting stuff out, a lot. Yeah, and so I did that, and then they made some really bad financial decisions, and the whole thing just kind of blew up.
Yeah.
And which is unfortunate because we had some decent production quality and stuff like that for that time. And I think if there was a better business plan, that we would have probably been able to ride that wave a little bit. And so one of the things that happened is they started like slow paying artists, and so a lot of people were kind of like, oh, what's going on here? But I could see the writing on the wall, so I made sure that I got my last whatever they owed me. I made sure I got it. And then shortly thereafter, the company folded, which happened a lot in the 90s, man. Yeah. A lot of comic book publishers would pop up, and then they would, just disappear.
And some big companies that came out hard and just crashed and burned. I mean,
yeah. Remember Malibu? How great their stuff was, and
look what happened to them. I mean, they got bought, but still,
right.
it was just a massive collapse. But I'm thinking like Kitchen Sink. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a big deal. Or Tundra, which was Kevin Eastman's big.
That was Kevin Eastman, right? Yeah.
Kevin Eastman. For the listeners who
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Exactly.
Yeah. Married to Julie Strain.
For a while.
Cesar, real quick before we're going to hit a station break real quick. Can you give everybody directions right now if they want to check out the Kickstarter on the break and look into it and hopefully put some money towards it? Where can they go to get to the Kickstarter right now?
Yeah, so if they just go to the Kickstarter there, and then they just type in on Kickstarter.com, Chango The Broken Veil. You can go in there, show you the page, and right up there you'll see all the different perks and stuff that are available for you. And check it out. And I'd love to have some support on this project. We're definitely going to put it out one way or another, but it'll just be made a whole lot easier if we can get some funding to help along the way.
That's the way it is now, man.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, we're going to come back in 2 and 2, as Chuck Willery says, talk more to Cesar Feliciano, the co-creator of Chango The Broken Veil, and so much more. And this is Pine of Comics. See you in a few minutes. Pine of Comics back at you. After taking advice from a G.I. Joe cartoon character named Wild Bill and Nicolas Cage, your life should be that much better. WESUFM.org. Go to 88.1 FM all the way on the left side of the dial.
It's just like riding a bike, I told you.
That's right, yeah. It took a little time. We are here with Cesar Feliciano, our old friend and creator of Chango, co-creator of Chango The Broken Veil, with a red 10. Cesar, I wanted to ask you, because and if it's something you're not doing anymore, we don't talk about it, but Gods and Monsters, is that something you're still working on, or is that kind of on the hold?
So Gods and Monsters is something that, it's actually Gods and Soldiers.
Gods and Soldiers, I apologize.
Yeah. And, no worries. So I put that out. And, but I wanted to get this, I just really felt that I needed to get this story out. Whether it was the right thing or not, I just really felt that I needed to get Chango out first, get out of my system. And, So I tabled that for a little bit. So what I did is I did produce that first issue. It's like an introduction to the story. I did it as a black and white color cover, and I printed, I don't know, like 500 copies or so, and I still got a few copies left. But yeah, people seem to like it pretty good. And
I liked it. I read it.
Yeah, and so I want to make sure that that I do put that out, and that's a pretty neat So let me just backtrack a little bit. So I did. I finished my stuff that I was doing with Dark Moon Productions. Did some work with Steve Warren in the illustration studio. Just kind of really honed my artistic ability there. Just being around a bunch of other artists, and Steve is a really high quality artist and illustrator.
Yeah, I got to say you are bringing up the local area established folks. I mean, all the big names that were here in the '90s or even the late '80s for some of these guys. So it's definitely.
Do you remember?
It's fun for me.
Yeah, well, I'm name dropping like crazy.
Yeah, that's great. So good.
Yeah. Do you even remember this guy Steve Rose?
It's ringing a bell. What?
Yeah, he actually was. He had a gallery up in, I think it was Ellington, South Windsor, Ellington, Windsor Locks area around there.
Okay.
And so that's where I met Tim Vigil. There, and that was the first time.
Ganache has got a blank look.
I was like, okay, wow. I can appreciate your skill.
Yeah.
I would never do that.
Tim Vigil was famous for doing very dark comics.
Are we trying to say porn without saying porn?
They aren't. Well, they're not.
It's porn.
It's porn.
All right, if you want to go that far.
It's like horror porn.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Faust. Faust. Yeah, Faust was his big thing. It was a 12-issue series. Was
beautifully illustrated. I mean, you can't think anything. The guy could draw.
Yeah,
I mean, he was really talented.
But it was X-rated. It was definitely X-rated.
Yeah,
and I know it's been optioned a few times. I think they did make a movie out of it at one point, but it's low budget.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy stuff. It's dark stuff. The lead is one of those. It's the anti-hero.
Oh, okay. All right.
With a big schlong.
Oh. All right. I'll have to go on Amazon and get myself a couple copies of that.
You want them? I'll give them to you. I think because that was another series that went on for quite a while. He had 12 issues and he kept getting hung up on his own personal issues, and it took a while for that final issue to come out. But yeah, it was people were waiting for it.
Interesting. So at least I now know that Gods and Soldiers will be getting some life once you move on.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And so then we go and I go from there, and then I do this comic for Masterpiece Comics out of Arizona. It's called Full Moon Craze, and it's the typical vampires versus werewolves thing. And that was, we were going to put that out as individual floppies, but we did like the first issue, full color, the whole 9 yards, and then the guy's money started drying up. So then he said, hey, listen, do you mind if we just switch gears up a bit here and we just print it out as a graphic novel and finish it up? And I was like, sure, whatever, And so put that out, finished that. And then I did some covers for some of his other comics that he had. And then from there, hooked up with Joe Martino. Are you familiar with Joe Martino of Red Anvil?
Yeah, that's a name I haven't heard in a while either.
Yeah. Do you remember the comic Ripper Man?
Yes.
Yeah. So I finished the second half of Ripper Man.
Okay.
Because, the artist that he had on it was kind of flaking on him. So he said, hey, could you come in and just finish this book? And so I finished it. And I remember one of the things that's funny, that's memorable about that is that last scene on the page where the hero gets the girl in the whole 9 yards. And I drew Ripper Man with like this luxurious, like just fresh out of a Breck commercial, hair flowing in the wind. So many people were like, dude, what is this guy in a shampoo commercial or something?
Pert Ripper Man.
You know,
Yeah.
Cesar, I gotta say, you are bringing up a lot of things that we haven't actually talked about on this show, and that's the trials and tribulations of a man in the independent comic scene. Not only from the early '90s, but in today's market too, which is completely different from what it was back then. But you're hitting on all the keynote points, like these companies that you start to work with that have a lot of money, and suddenly the money's gone, and then you're hoping to get paid for the work you've done.
Well, I mean, it brings up a good question too. I mean, I can only imagine, Cesar, for all the stuff you've said that over the course of the years you've done, and the money dried up, and you did an issue or two, or did this or that. How many things have you ever been involved with that never even took off?
Right.
I mean, is that something that has happened where someone says, "Okay, Cesar, you're my guy. I want you to do this." You plan it out. You know you're going to draw it, or you maybe do draw it, and then there's no fruition to it.
Yeah, there's a couple things like that never actually left terra firma. So but it's just stuff that you learn. Yeah. But one of the things that I quickly learned is, listen, when you're doing independent comics, you really have to be your own best agent, and you have to be your own best debt collector, okay? Because if not, you're gonna get burnt. And so a lot of times what I started to do a few years ago, it's like I would go to people that were interested in me working on a project, and I would say, listen, I'm gonna get this done. I'm gonna do it. This is why. And I would just reel off, my resume of the stuff that I've done in comics, plus commission work. I do all sorts. I do logos. I do all sorts of stuff with referrals and the whole 9 yards. And I said, the only thing I ask of you is that you commit to me as much as I'm committing to you. So if you could give me, half up front, or pay me for X amount of pages, I'll get those done, and then you can pay me for the next batch. Then we're good. And so these are the things that you have to do.
Yeah.
Okay? When you're working for the big two, you go there, you do your job, you turn in your pages, they cut you a voucher, and you're good. Okay? But that's not the scene in the indie comics.
Right.
So after Ripperman, I do the Red 10. And before that, I did the biography of Justice Sonia Sotomayor for Blue Water Productions.
Oh, no kidding.
I've seen that all over shops in Connecticut. Yeah.
Actually, when I was on Channel 61, and I did an interview there, and I was there with the guy from the Spawn movie.
Oh,
Michael Jai White.
Yeah, Michael Jai White sitting right next to me, and there was like this other sports writer from the Hartford Current there, and Michael Jai White is a pretty solid guy.
Oh yeah.
He's a pretty buff dude. But he's like asking me like, so who are you? Like why are you here with us? Type of thing. So I explained to him, I told him what I do. And he was like really interested, in like what I was doing and stuff like that. So I wanted to hook up with him. Unfortunately, it never worked out. But that's neither here nor there. And so then after I finished the Red 10, like, well, what am I going to do now? Okay. And so do I try to find, do something else for someone else or whatever? And so I had said to myself, well, man, people are doing their own stuff now. They're using crowdfunding in order to get their books produced. Okay. I saw people left and right doing this, and I'm like, well, can I do something like that? And so I had these ideas for these 3 stories: Chango, Gods and Soldiers, and Gin and Tonic. And so you already know I already spoke on Chango, and let me just give a quick overview of what Gods and Soldiers is all about. So Gods and Soldiers essentially these 2 Marines, one's dealing with PTSD and the other one's dealing with financial situations, which is very real for former military guys, especially these guys that were in Iraq and they saw some really bad things. So, the one guy invites his buddy for dinner and kind of like, uses this pretense of hanging out in Tijuana for a guy's weekend to just kind of blow off some steam. And so they go down there, they're drinking, they're having a few drinks, they're getting, they're just having a good time with the boys, And then he kind of springs on him. The real reason why he's down there is that they were paid and hired to stop a sex trafficking ring that was there. And so they follow this guy who abducted a girl from the bar, and they follow him to this warehouse. And, they go in there, and they got their AKs and their M16s and all that, so they're really ready to go, kind of, for whatever's coming next. And they go in the warehouse, and when they get there, they find out that the sex trafficking ring is cover for something much greater. And what it is this cult is trying to open up a portal to another dimension, and shortly, instead of being involved in a sex trafficking mission, they're actually involved in a war between Aztec gods.
Huh. Yeah, I read the issue he put out, and it's good because it's one of these stories that, like, for if it's 22 pages long, for 21 pages, it seems like it's a standard kind of military story, and then you get to the end, and that's where you're killing me because you take the left turn, and we haven't gotten issue 2 yet. But that is cool that you're going back to it. That's why That's why I was so concerned about it. And the gin and tonic thing, I see you on Instagram putting stuff up like that, and talk about that because that looks really cool too.
Yeah, so gin and tonic is awesome. Gin and tonic, it really has 2 things that I really love. So growing up, I was big time martial artist. I trained in martial arts. I studied karate in Okinawa with one of the last grandmasters of Ishinbu karate. I learned Kempo. I studied in the Philippines, stick fighting, arnis, and eskrima. So, I even have a little semi-pro record, 11-4 in tournaments.
I like how you dropped that in there. I've got not just I have a semi-pro record, 11-4. That's your new nickname. It's Cesar 11-4 Feliciano.
Yeah, so it mixes the martial arts and the mysticism of chi and all that stuff with super spy, Russian oligarch soldier type thing. And so basically what it is these 2 assassins, one's taught and raised by ninjas to be the ultimate assassin, and then the other, his name is Sammy Jin, and then the female is the epitome of human evolution and creation. So her name is Darya Tanikova, and she was created in a test tube to be and so she's the best of humanity. So she's almost not superhuman, but she's like ultra human. All right, in that she's probably using about 30% of her abilities as opposed to the normal 10. And so they both are given a contract. Unbeknownst to them, the contract was given to them by the same individual, and so the reason for it is to bring them together so that they have to make a decision that is going to change their life on whether they accept to do the mission or not. And so all of this is being put together because they're going to be used to fight evil in the world. And so we're going to have martial arts, espionage, super spy stuff, Russian stuff.
We want to read this right now, man.
Yeah. No, it's awesome because I love all those pulp sci-fi stuff, the Bond stuff. I was a big fan of Master of Kung Fu, Shang-Chi, with Paul Gulacy and Dan Green when they were doing that. Just great stuff. And so, I want to go back to the end. I was very fortunate to get pulp writer Ron Fortier on the project. I had done a treatment for it, a 10-page treatment. I said, Ron, take a look at this, read it, and let me know if you'd be interested. He reads it, says he loves it. 3 days later, he's got 45 pages for me.
Wow.
Wow. Now I'm really sold now.
Yeah, like I said, either Instagram or Twitter, I've seen some of the character concept stuff that Cesar puts out there. and it's awesome.
So, and again, this is something you're probably going to do through Kickstarter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I should say, for those that listen that aren't necessarily regular comic readers, Kickstarter is a platform that's very successful for people that are publishing independently. So it works, and it works well for many people, not everybody, but it definitely works well for I would say a better than average percentage.
Yeah.
So and then it just furthers the creator market, I think.
Yeah, well, it gives you a whole new swath of books that you could get out there that you're not going to see in the comic stores right away.
Right.
Or if you're not going to a lot of cons, you're not going to see sitting on someone's table.
Well, the old distributor market is really it's changed to the point where it needs to change vastly to improve the sales of all comics.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sure you have your own opinions on that too, Cesar. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm of a mind with the way that the market is now, you have books that sell, 85,000 copies, which is a lot, 150,000 copies, which is a lot, But a lot of those numbers are like alternate covers.
Right.
A lot of times there's a lot of over shipping, so kind of like it screws around with the numbers a little bit.
Yeah.
And so you're not getting the true numbers as they should be.
Yeah.
And basically what it's showing is like a comic industry that it's kind of like losing itself. They're doing some odd things with characters and, not really like the quality of what they're producing is going. And I'm really disappointed in Marvel because a lot of they were known for just high quality stuff, and you could just see it going down. I don't know if that's financial decisions or, Disney just doesn't care or whatever it is. And so, they're not catering to the audience that basically got them to the ball,
Yeah.
And I understand you want to get younger readers, that sort of thing, and that's fine. But younger readers don't have the money. Okay.
Well, that's part of the problem.
Not $4 a piece.
Yeah. And so what crowdfunding allows you to do is that, say you get 1,000, 1,500 committed people that will always back your book. If you have 1,000 to 1,500 people that are willing to drop money on your project that you're putting out consistently, you're able to take care of that audience. These are my 1,000 people that I have, my 1,500 people, and there are a lot of creators that do that, and they take care of them. They treat them so well. They're like gold. It was like someone like Brian Pulido. He's got the Lady Death thing, and the guy every 3 or 4 months he's putting out something Lady Death related, something new that he's putting out, and he's built it up. And he's probably earning like 1.5 million in Kickstarters annually. He does like his own Lady Death Con. He's supporting artists that he's having to draw his stories, that sort of thing. And he's created like a little industry. There's like a Lady Death Museum in Arizona that you can go and check out. I mean, there's like a lot of cool stuff that people are doing. Billy Tucci, I was talking to him, I want to say maybe a couple years ago, and I was like, hey man, when are you going to bring She back? And I don't know, the industry right now is a little. I said, well, you don't have to use the industry to bring it back. Why don't you just Kickstarter? I was like, oh man, I don't think anyone's going to buy it and stuff like that. And I'm like, Billy, if you do a She, Return of She, dude, you're going to make like $150,000 on that project. There's no doubt. And so when he put out his first Kickstarter campaign, which was the Zombie Sama, I saw that he put that on. I was like, wow, he's testing the waters to see if people would buy something that has his name on it. But it funded and it did well on Kickstarter. And so then he's like, well, let me go put it on Indiegogo, and it did just as well there. So now he's got these people that they already know who he is. They know that he's put this product out, and they're all hankering for She. So when he puts his thing out, I'd be surprised if he doesn't do like $250
and
$250,000 on it.
And if he does, which even if he gets a smaller portion of that, the big companies need to be taking notice of this kind of thing, and I don't think they are. I mean, it's Billy Tucci. He's got a good length of history behind him between his own publishing stuff and the stuff that he's worked for DC or Marvel. So
absolutely,
you know
what's interesting is that so you got a guy like Ethan Van Sciver. He's a fairly polarizing figure. Either you like him or you hate him. Okay, which is fine. All right, no one has to like anyone. All right, I respect the guy's. I respect the guy's artistic ability and he's a great film promoter and stuff like that. But he puts out his Cyber Frog comic, which I remember going to a convention in 1992 and seeing this little 17-year-old kid with this black and white frog comic. I go like, hey, what is that? And he goes, oh, this is my comic, Cyber Frog. And I'm like, oh, that's cute. Little did I know, 25 years later, he'd draw some of the most epic stories in comics of all time. Blackest Night, Brightest Day, Flash Rebirth. I mean, just epic stuff. And so he does his Cyber Frog comic. He makes $650,000 on it, that sort of thing. And secretly, people within the industry, are kind of like talking to him, and he says, listen, I'm not going to give out names because that's not right. They don't want to be known. But I am talking to them. So, I believe that there are creators that are in the big two right now that want to do crowdfunding. And I think if they did it, they would be extremely successful. Can you imagine a guy like Sean Gordon Murphy? He's like the hottest thing out there right now. His book, the book that he did with The Dark Knight was just,
White Knight.
That's epic. Yeah, White Knight. It's just epic. And I do have my signed issue 1 and 2 that he signed for me in perfect condition. But yeah. So if he were to decide that, let me crowdfund the book, and he puts out a book, I'm telling you, that guy's probably going to make $1.5 million on a crowdfunding campaign.
Yeah, people.
No doubt.
I don't think people care where they're getting their especially if it's. I mean, yeah, if you
true fans.
Yeah, if you want a Superman book, you've got to go to DC. But if you want a book written by or drawn by Sean Gordon Murphy or Jason Aaron or whatever, you're going to go get it wherever you can get it.
Especially if they're not producing anything for these bigger companies that are much easier.
Yeah, if they're in that pocket where they left the big two and they're not doing anything elsewhere.
And you're a big fan, and hey, I want to support these guys in whatever they're doing. You're going to find that audience. So
exactly.
So Cesar, we got a couple minutes left. Let's go through every place on social media, website. Everybody can find you. Find Chango The Broken Veil, Kickstarter, all that stuff.
All right, so the Chango The Broken Veil is on Kickstarter. So you go to Kickstarter.com, just do a search for Chango The Broken Veil. You'll be able to check out the Kickstarter there and check out the different pledges. And, please pledge and support the comic. Also, you can reach me at Twitter on El Guapo Comics at Twitter. Also on Instagram at The Art of Cesar Feliciano, on Facebook at The Art of Cesar Feliciano, or if you just want to be on my regular friend stream with Cesar Feliciano, you can follow me there as well.
And please, seriously, also, he's being modest. Go to probably, I'm assuming maybe Amazon.com or ComicsTribe.com and check out the Red 10.
Yeah.
It's a completed story. It's available in, I think, one complete volume at this point now. If not, there was 2 volumes. You could get it in several different ways. You could probably still buy the floppies through Comics Tribe.
Sure.
So if you want,
if not, you find them in your back issue bins. But it is a 10-issue series that was collected, and it is something else.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do have hardcovers. So if you wanted to reach out to me and say, hey, I don't want to buy it from such and such, I want to get it from you directly. If you purchase it from me, I will sign it and do a quick sketch inside of it for you and mail it off.
Cool.
That's the best way to do it right there.
All right.
That's the best way to do it. I've got a couple sketches in my comic room Caesar's done for me over the years. I've got a Daredevil and a Bullseye that are just awesome. And Caesar, it's awesome talking to you.
That was great,
I can't wait till the next time we talk. I can't wait to see Chango. I can't wait to see issue 2 of Gods and Soldiers.
I'm just glad there's somebody on the phone that remembers CJ Bunn. That was fantastic. Caesar, thanks again. This was a great hour.
Yeah, a great hour, Caesar. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, no problem. Thanks for having me.
We will talk to you soon.
All right.
All right, bye-bye.